2, 1.
Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
So we have a great show lined up for you today, and we have a special guest, Mr. Larry Marlatte. And I want to start it off, Larry, with a quote that I heard you say recently. Sometimes life sucks. And that's it, right?
That's right.
And then Matt wants to add in there, and then you die.
And then you die.
Sometimes life sucks, and then you die.
Yeah, there's no way to avoid it in this life. I don't care how rich you are, how privileged you are, no matter what kind of situation, where you live, life is going to suck from time to time.
Yeah.
Right, Larry?
Yeah, you got to learn how to manage the suck.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's all about your perspective. You know, you could have a great life. You could have all the things that America has to offer and still feel like your life sucks. Or you could have all the disadvantages in the world and think your life is great and you appreciate everything. You're waking up in the morning, you've got this optimistic, positive perspective. You don't feel like your life sucks. But it's a pretty common thing.
But I think the difference, though, is gratitude.
Yeah.
Like if life sucks, you're like, yeah, life sucks, but I have this and this going on. Yes, it sucks, but I know this will happen on the back end. I'll make it through. Gratitude's a big difference between just living in the suck and overcoming it.
There you go.
But enough about that.
That should be the motto, the slogan of your real estate company.
What?
Made for more. Life sucks, but you can get over it.
Life sucks, but you're made for more.
There we go.
There we go. Thanks, Matt.
Trademark copyright.
But yeah, so we have Larry in the studio today, and Larry, I mean, I've known you, I think back since when we first moved out here. Mm-hmm. So that would have been 2018. So it's been a minute.
How did you guys meet?
He was recommended to us.
Oh, okay.
By another real estate agent. We were looking for a signed person, and he was recommended.
I thought you guys would have met in a cigar lounge somewhere. Cigar shop.
We have.
It's
like, hell, you're the guy I buy signs from. He's like, you're the guy I sell signs to. You know. So that's what Larry does, right? You specialize. You do a lot of different signage.
We do, but we specialize in real estate signage.
Yep.
Regular listings. For sale panels, open house signs, commercial boards, riders, pretty much anything that your industry needs to market the house.
And so when you were in high school and you were taking classes and they asked you, Larry, what do you want to do when you grow up? You said, I want to own my own sign shop, right?
No, that's not what I said at all. It was hard to get me to class, to be honest with you. That was not my forte.
Did you graduate high school?
Through a continuation high school program.
Yes, sir, I did. We had somebody on here recently, and she did not.
Never graduated high school.
She never went back to get her GE, but she's lived a successful life.
You know, I think it's more mindset than anything else.
Yeah.
I had a hard time sitting in the classes and just learning stuff by rote. I was already working. I started my first business when I was 14.
What was it?
It was a mobile truck wash, actually.
Really?
I started with a buddy of mine who was 16 because he could drive.
Yep.
And we started washing postal vehicles on site.
Nice.
That was a referral through the postmaster at the original 2 offices we started was a friend of my dad's. And he'd taken over those 2 offices and needed somebody to come in. And we literally started it with a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket and a garden hose and sprayer.
That's cool, though.
And we started that in 1984. And I bought him out in 86. And in 91, when I sold it, we were responsible for every government-owned postal vehicle from Oxnard, Port Hueneme, across to Palm Springs down to the Mexican border.
Wow. Good for you. That's super cool.
Had 78 employees when I sold the business.
Wow.
No kidding.
Good for you.
What made you decide to sell?
I was working too many hours. We ran the business from home, and I was away from the house 80 to 100 hours a week. And it was just that was too much.
That's saying a lot because you work a lot now.
I do, but I've learned as I've gotten older to manage my time a little better too. there was also some regulations that the state was putting in place that I didn't really want to have to fight and try to revamp the business to, accommodate. I'd already done that once, and we had to change basically our entire operation, buy different equipment, do different processes, and then effective in 1992, California made it so that what you were washing off of a vehicle couldn't go into the ground or into a storm drain. They want it collected.
Oh my gosh.
They've backed off of that a little bit now. It's not as stringent now as they were trying to make it in the early 90s. But, yeah, it made it unfeasible to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And the company that bought me out, they were planning on fighting this. And, I'm like, here you go. Have a good day. Have a good time. I'm done.
Take it and run with it.
So, yeah.
But so one of the reasons why I enjoy just having conversations with you is you have a unique perspective because you speak with tons of different brokerages and tons of different agents. Mm-hmm. And so,
from an outsider's perspective, I want to ask real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
How is it working with folks in real estate? And
oh gosh.
Are they pleasant people to work with? Are they a pain in the butt? Are they aggravating and frustrating? Do you just want to slap them every once in a while? Or how are they to work with?
Well,
be honest. Johnny Jennings is not here.
The real estate industry is a cross section of the population.
There you go.
I have some outstanding customers that have become personal friends. There's in any industry you're in, any job you're working, you're going to have some customers that are harder to deal with than others. I'm not for everybody.
Right.
So, I'm also
I feel the exact same way about myself. Well, that is another great slogan.
I'm not for everybody.
I'm not for everybody.
Made for more. I'm not for everybody.
Well, but this is also a customer service business, so you got to kind of dial back your personality sometimes and just, provide the service, provide the customer service. So, overall, I enjoy what I do. The real estate industry, I work with contractors, I work with small businesses, for vehicle signage, for, some building signage. We don't do a lot of that, but, some specific stuff we will do.
But you've been doing this, Paradise has been around for 16 years?
Yeah, I started that in 2008.
2008, and then you were doing signage before that.
Mm-hmm. I worked for a company in Roseville. I got into the production manufacturing side of it in 2003 with a company, Signs Plus of Roseville, that no longer exists.
Did you buy them out, or did they just cease?
Sort of. They ceased, and I purchased the equipment and the rights to the name and all that.
Okay.
From that original owner. And prior to that, I was an installation guy. Starting in 99, I started putting in, I was literally the guy that drove around in the truck with the posts and put posts in the ground in front of your realtors' listings. But I also I worked for that sign shop that I just mentioned and two others as their backup outside installation guy. So if they had a business that needed their hours on their storefront or on their glass door, that's hard for a small shop, 1 or 2 man shop, to get out of the shop at 11 and meet a store owner. Yeah. So I was doing a lot of that stuff. At that time, my primary source of income, I worked a graveyard job in a warehouse. So I'd get off in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and it's like, oh, okay, I can side hustle a couple of things.
Yeah. Wow.
I was throwing posts in for a few realtors that I knew, and that's really what got me going on it. I went to work for the shop in Roseville because he really, really wanted to do more real estate signage.
Okay.
And I knew a lot of realtors, so I started doing outside sales for him. And then that eventually evolved into the production management of that company. So
in 25 years, what are some things that you see that stands out to you with real estate agents between people who make it in this industry and people who struggle and fall out?
The people that treat it like a business are always busy.
Mm-hmm. So what do you mean by that? Like treat it like a business?
Well, we're in a unique kind of market right now. We don't have to get into the specifics of that. We can kind of all agree that this is a little different right now than it was 3 or 4 years ago. The agents that I see that are always busy are going to survive. And by being always busy, you might not be showing a house today, or you might not be going on a listing appointment today, but you're doing something.
Something real estate related.
Something real estate related.
Yeah.
You are contacting past clients about, hey, do you know anybody that is thinking about buying or selling? Do you know anybody that needs credit repair that I can put them with my lender to help them get ready to buy a house?
Yep.
You're constantly doing something to improve your business. Even if it's just, getting your open house signs out and wiping them down and making sure they're clean if you have an open house coming up, or you can sit somebody else's. So it's just, it's being focused on business.
Yep, that is so true. So many people, like as far as real estate agents go, I've only been doing this about 9 years, licensed 9 years, and people who've been doing this 10, 20, 30, 40, almost 50 years are telling me this is the hardest market that they've experienced. And so if you were working hard, it was hard to be a real estate agent before. 87% of people were quitting in 5 years or less. But it's way harder now because there's way more agents and fewer sales taking place. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not out there moving the needle in some regard every single day on the business, then just pick something else. Be an Uber driver, get a state job, but you're not going to last in this industry if you're not putting in the work every single day.
Well, and I think one of the failings of the industry over the time that I've been involved with it is real estate industry as a whole does a poor job of educating and preparing new realtors, especially younger realtors, for what they're in for.
Absolutely.
This is the worst job in the world. I mean, it can be if you allow it to be.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Well, because you're having to go out and sell yourself to people about their largest single purchase. 99% of them are going to make their entire lives.
Right.
And if you don't understand going in that it's a personality contest, you're probably not going to do well.
What do you mean by a personality contest?
You have to be comfortable with talking to people. You have to be comfortable with the back and forth, because they're going to, some of those clients are going to have some hard questions, or maybe they're just a pain in the you-know-what.
Right.
And you have to be able to field all that stuff without getting upset, irritated, or offended.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is, especially in this climate, in this culture. It seems like it's a lost skill that has fallen away with our society. Yeah. Especially with younger people.
Absolutely. And, when I say they don't do a real good job, telling them what's involved, this is a business. Like you own a business, like any other business. There's costs involved. I mean, we're talking about signage. Mm-hmm. You have to have signage to do this job, on either end of it. You want to hold an open house, there's not a lot of agents floating around that are going to go, hey, just use all my open house signs. No, they kind of expect you to get that kind of stuff yourself. The way I equate it is, I said it's the worst job in the world, with the possible exception of defusing live munitions under fire. I don't understand why anybody would want to do what you do, Johnny. It's just, it seems like you get beat up a lot.
It is. You get beat up a lot, but man, when you win, it feels good.
No, I get it.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
a
get
great
it.
point.
And I'm sure that's what keeps a lot of people in the industry.
Yeah.
But,
Totally get it. Well, when we come back from the break with Larry Marlatte, we are going to be talking about how he got started in the business and real estate trends that agents you should be implementing. This is what he's seen on the ground, boots on the ground. And if you want to reach out to Larry, just Google Paradise Signs or just text or call us at 530-GET-MORE. Just text SIGN to 530-GET-MORE and we'll get you connected with Larry.
Matt, you and I both own our homes, and we know how expensive and crazy it can get to try to fix up your house. And if you're thinking I need to sell my house, but I can't afford to do all of that. Well, Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team can help because Margie and Ben needed to sell their mother's home in Rancho Cordova. Of course, they wanted to sell in as-is condition and for top dollar, so they didn't have to spend all that money to do the upgrades. And Johnny Jennings was able to get them 8 offers and sold the house for over $20,000 over list price. And they had their cash in hand in just 17 days.
Yeah, Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team, they are great. We trust them. They've got this program where if you don't have the time or the money to make those much needed repairs to put your home on the market, they'll help you out with that. Plus, they've got more 5-star Google reviews, almost 800 of them, than anyone else in our area. There's a reason why they were voted #1 team in Roseville for the past 3 years. There's a reason why they sell homes 27% faster than anyone else in our area. Expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by EXP Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So COVID was a weird time, horrible time. A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of businesses went out of business, but it moved the needle on a lot of other aspects, specifically tech-related. Like before COVID, I barely even knew what a QR code was. And now after COVID, like it seems like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you seeing an increased trend with that, Larry?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw some popularity in QR codes back in 14 or 15 when they started being a little more, readily available.
Yeah.
And that had died off until COVID. And then COVID, made it a necessity to figure out a different way to get your information.
Yeah, I couldn't order food without.
You couldn't go to a restaurant. They wouldn't hand you a menu. We talked earlier, Cash App, Venmo, all that stuff is all QR code based. So yes, I am seeing an increase in that, where they're putting agents are putting their property info. Scan this QR code for info and photos on this property. We are seeing quite a bit more of that than even a year and a half ago.
Got it. And is it brokerage specific, or is it across different brokerages you're seeing people do this?
Yes, to both. There's a couple of brokerages that seem to be that's more of a talking point. You can tell in the office meetings.
They're pushing that.
Yeah, in the office meetings, because we're getting more inquiries from a couple of brokerages in particular. But no, I'm seeing an increase, all across the board.
Okay. And just to be clear, for those of you who are listening, Larry works with all brokerages. You're broker agnostic. As long as you're in real estate, they can work with you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I'll do anybody's signs. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. And so we're seeing that's one trend that you're seeing is an increase in QR codes. Mm-hmm. But we were also talking about real estate agents and how they sometimes move around and change brokerages and just their thought process around that. I think that's interesting for people to kind of process.
Well, there's every year, regardless of the market, at the end of the calendar year and at tax time, that's when we see the most movement from agency to agency.
So when you're saying you see the most movement, they're calling you and saying, "Hey, I need my signs remade."
Yeah, or I'll even get inquiries from agents going, "Hey, I'm thinking about this company.
Yeah.
How much is the signage? Based on what they use." So we can walk them through that point. Sometimes that move is economic based. Especially with the market we're going through right now, is some agents have sat down and reevaluated what they're spending. Maybe they don't need that office space that they've been paying for, that they're not really going into.
Sure.
Maybe they need something different, so they move. That's out of the agents that I see, doing different stuff with their signage. Moving is probably the number one for sure. Mm-hmm. But the next segment is an agent that had a pretty good year last year, but they didn't have a stellar year. And the problem with that being that their expenses require that they have a stellar year every single year. So they're looking at what they can do to update their marketing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they haven't used photo signs before, so they're gonna do that.
Are you seeing an increase in the photo signs?
Not really, no.
What do you mean by photo signs?
Where it's got the agent's mug.
Their picture from 1999.
That's not as bad as it used to be.
What's the theory on why they were using that? So you can go with a picture, or you can go with just the branding name of your real estate company. Why would they go with the picture? What's the reasoning behind that?
I'll let you take that, Larry.
Because it's a type A personality thing.
So you think it's just about ego?
I'm more important than everybody else. Let me put my photo on there. And I'm not anti-photo sign, but what I want people to understand is, number one, at 40 yards, 40 miles an hour, it could be you, me, a Labrador Retriever. Most people aren't going to notice or recognize. And you have to understand, it's different marketing than a business card or an email signature. You have your photo on your business card, you're typically handing that to somebody, or they're picking it up off your desk in front of you or at your open house or whatever. Photo sign is advertising to people that already know you, not marketing to people that don't. And if they don't know you, they don't care about you. They care about themselves and their money. That's it.
Yeah, maybe why they would do it would be like, hey, this is a person. Not
that's what I'm
not
thinking.
A faceless
yeah,
thing.
and they're trying to focus on the individual themselves.
Yeah,
more so than the company or the industry itself. And because that's what a lot of marketing people, tell you to do. It's essential to put your face on everything. I don't necessarily agree with that. The other downside that doesn't get talked about very much, and if you would have told me 20, 25 years ago when I started that this would be a talking point, I would have called you a liar to your face. If the single reason that they are picking up a phone and calling that agent is because of the picture on the sign, 99 times out of 100, you do not want that phone call. Does that make sense?
That's true, 100%.
Yeah.
Wait, repeat that again.
If the single reason that they are picking up the phone and calling that agent is because of the photo on the sign, it's for a negative reason.
Why? Explain that.
Oh, if it's a female and they're getting somebody's wanting to something inappropriate. It's it's potentially not safe.
Yeah.
So then it seems pretty conclusive and clear that Johnny should not be putting his picture on any signage whatsoever.
I'm safe. I'm safe. Nobody wants this.
Nobody's calling
me. Yeah. So,
well, this took a turn I was not expecting. All right.
Okay. So what are the benefits then? You're saying don't use a picture, go the other route, and the benefits of that are what?
It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another on a picture. If understand the pros and cons of it. I understand why a lot of people do it, and there's some good benefits to using a picture on your listing sign. If you're working a specific geographic farm, it puts recognition to that's the same agent. If you're new to the real estate industry, but you came from another job in the area that your face is readily recognizable. Yeah. You were the grocery store checkout clerk. You were the front office, front desk person at the elementary school. You were a bank teller, where your face was in front of people day in and day out. Not a bad idea to put your face on the sign. Yeah. Just understand that there's some negatives that come along with that.
It also seems that most people underestimate how much time and money it takes for them to even remember you and remember your face or remember your brand. Like we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars promoting our brand, Made for More, and I am just now getting to the point in years, hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of time, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'll meet an agent and go, I recognize Made for More. I recognize that. I've heard of you guys. Like, so if you have 5 signs with your face on it and you do 5 listings a year, you're not creating brand recognition. They're not going to remember that. But if you have 13 houses for sale in a community, if they're hearing you on the radio, if they're seeing you driving down on a billboard, then all of a sudden, I recognize that person. But there's probably a handful of people that I would recognize, like based off either the name or the picture. Tom Daves being one of them. Like that guy can't go anywhere without being stopped. Oh, you're Tom Daves, Right. But that took he's been doing this since 1977.
Yeah.
So that took decades. Actually, and you go a ways back with Tom as well, right?
Absolutely. I've been doing stuff for Tom for 20 plus years.
20 plus years. How'd you guys get started?
When he moved to Keller Williams, actually,
Was he with Remax before that?
Who was Tom with before that?
Caldwell?
I think he was a Caldwell banker.
Okay.
But yeah, way back in the day, we did almost all the Keller Williams signs, and so it was kind of a no-brainer.
So you saw his face a lot then if you was with Keller.
And then he and Brent and it was funny. We talk about market shifts, and in 2008 going into 2009. That's when I opened Paradise Signs. The worst possible time to A, open a business, and B, open something that was, life dependent on the real estate industry. That was not a super great choice, but you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
There were the first half of 2009. There were about 4 agents in this area that we were doing multiple signs for. Because of bank-owned REO, that kind of stuff. And we were still making signs for other agents, but it was one sign here, one sign there. Maybe somebody needed 2 because, it was out in the country and they needed a directional sign to get them there. But that was it. Guys like Tom, guys like John Brophy, Warren Adams, Andrew Lee, those were the guys in 2008, 2009 that were just – moving forward because they shifted, they pivoted with how the business had to be done. They wanted to do the REOs and the bank-owned stuff, and some agents didn't at that time.
Yeah.
And that's a business choice. I mean, you do what you're comfortable with, and it's just like, somebody told me years ago that I was in an office and there was a training, a meeting going on. And it was somebody out from an outside company that was pitching whatever they were pitching. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to an agent, very, very well known, very seasoned agent in this area. And it was kind of giving him a hard time. I said, shouldn't you be in there learning the newest, latest, and greatest? And he looked at me and he said, let me tell you something. He goes, I don't care what that guy's selling. I don't care if he's the FSBO guy, the cold call guy, the open house guy. The great thing about the real estate industry is whatever program it is, it works if you work.
100%.
Right.
It works if you work it.
And that's, that just doesn't go for real estate. That's just business in general. What are you comfortable with? If you don't like sitting in an open house and talking to people that come into open houses, you probably shouldn't buy 40 open house signs and think about doing that every weekend.
It's going to take up space in the garage.
Yeah. I mean, the real estate is realtors are lucky in a sense that there's a lot of different niches you can run. And I've been doing this a long time. I've met a lot of agents. I can point out a success story in every one of those niches. I know people that kill it with open houses, and they love doing that. They get up, they're excited on the weekend to get
That's
up
probably key.
and do an open house. Or I've got agents that are doing late afternoon, midweek open houses, trying to catch people on their way home from work. Hey, maybe your kids got soccer all weekend. You don't have time to go out and look at an open house. Hey, come by and look at it at 5:30 on a Tuesday.
Yep.
But yeah, if you find a niche you like, if you want to be the neighborhood realtor, in your neighborhood or in your kid's school's neighborhood or whatever. I've got agents that are making good livings, good careers out of sponsoring their kids' sports teams and being that agent out there at all the games, all the practices with their logoed hat, shirt, easy up, whatever.
Yeah.
Because human nature will tell us that if my son is in your son's class or my son plays on your son's team, I know what you do for a living. Even if I've never spoken to you, there's a familiarity. And if I have a question, I am much more likely to approach you than that sign that I saw 3 blocks down my neighborhood.
Yep.
That's just human nature. It's passive marketing as opposed to aggressive marketing.
And you bring up a good point, though. that, one, you have to like what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So if you like open houses, then do open houses. If you hate open houses, then find something else. And two, you have to do it consistently. Like, you can't just pay for the sports team and then never show up to the games, never be present. You're just an empty a logo on somebody's shirt. That doesn't mean anything. There's not that personal relationship in that type of marketing. So you got to show up. Yep. And so that's what I see. Is a lot of agents will throw money at something. They'll hire an assistant, but they won't train the assistant. They won't support the assistant. They'll pay for a marketing source, but then they don't follow up with the leads. They just expect them to instantly generate business. And so, anyways, you bring up a good point. Like, one, like what you're doing. Two, make sure you do it consistently and show up.
Yep. No, absolutely. It's just, and it takes some time, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta kind of be in the trenches for a little while, you know?
Yeah. Because there's so many shiny objects. A lot of agents are like, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. And then they eventually, it either gets beat into them that, hey, I need to pick something and stick with it, or they get out of the industry. Mm-hmm. Because you can't pay, there's so many things to pay for, from open house signs to radio marketing, digital marketing, shopping carts, bus benches, just door knocking. It maybe doesn't take a whole lot of money, but takes a whole lot of time.
Yep.
You know, cold calling. There's just so many different ways, like you said, to niche down, but you only have so many hours in the day.
Well, and the hard point for some people, and I run across this in my business, is you start out focused, you know, and I have ADD worse than most humans I know, so I can speak from experience. You're doing the program, you're going through the motions of, you know, marketing, advertising, contacting people, getting more business, you know, setting that ball in motion, setting it rolling. Okay, now it's rolling and it's picking up speed. Okay, I've got this client I'm working with. I've got this person. I'm doing this project. I've got 5 irons in the fire. And you satisfied all 5 of those clients with an excellent, you know, outcome. But the problem is that took 2 months and you haven't been doing the marketing.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, there's so many hours in the day. So that's the biggest challenge, I think, for business owners, is making sure, even as you're getting busier, that you're still doing the things that got you that business in the first place. And that's hard.
That's really hard.
You know?
The only way I found to keep the lead generation pedal down, right, in terms of attracting new business or generating new business, is to hire it out. Mm-hmm. And so what we do at the Made for More is we have a team of people that are constantly working the phones, constantly following up with inquiries, and making sure that we're not letting any stone go unturned. So that way, when they are ready to buy, when they are ready to sell, they're ready to go. And so my calendar is constantly filling up with, you know, opportunities to speak with either agents looking to make a move or sellers looking to make a move.
That's
and
smart.
then our agents' calendars are also being filled up with buyers. And so that with that marketing being done for them, they can focus on working the clients, which is really what people enjoy, having like pleasant conversations, not being told no 500 times a day. So.
That was your dating life, right? When you were in high school, college?
High school, college, man. I was not.
I'm ripping on Johnny today.
I was way too focused on making money. I've always been very economically driven, and you know. So, anyways, I lived
won out in the end.
I lived in a trailer park in Bakersfield. Okay. So, did I ever tell you about this story, Matt?
No, let's talk about it after the break.
All right. But when we come back, you're going to hear about Trailer Johnny.
Are you curious, like most people, how much could I get for my home if I put it on the market? Maybe even an all-cash offer? Then reach out to our friends Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty. You can even find out how much you would get if you wanted an all-cash offer today. You expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. Brokered by EXP, license number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by EXP Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So the year was 2010, and I was living in a trailer Not like a mobile home, but a legit pull behind trailer in a trailer park in Bakersfield.
So your wife left you, your dog died, your truck's broke down, you're unemployed.
You got one of them
is that
right.
Stretching it too far?
No, you got one of them right. My truck did break down. So I'm a super broke college kid, and I'm living in a trailer park just south of Bakersfield off Taft Highway. Loved it. Southland RV. Loved living there.
But did you own the trailer or were you renting?
My dad owned it.
Well, there you go. See, so you were a property owner.
No. I was paying the space rent, and my dad was letting me use the trailer.
Oh, okay.
And so,
did it have AC?
Oh, it did.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. It's not as bad.
But I was too broke to run the AC.
Really?
I would go to sleep with a wet towel on me.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Wet towel and a fan.
Wow.
Boy,
okay.
you can almost hear the banjo music from Deliverance.
Was it? What did you say? What did you say, Larry? Was it redneck?
Redneck, white trash, blue collar.
There you go. That's how I was raised. But anyways, it was so bad that my truck broke down, and I had to take a bus to get to school. And I was also working at the school. I was working at the bookstore, and so I would have. But in order to make classes and make work everything like on time, I'd have to take the first bus, which was about 5:25 in the morning, and it would take me almost 2 hours to get from the trailer park to college one way. And so then I would take one of the last buses out to make it back home in time. So I take the last bus like 7:30, 7:45 to make it back home by 9:30.
Wow.
And while I was saving up money to fix my broken down truck. But once the truck was fixed, man, it felt like I was flying private. Like it took me 17 minutes to get to school. It was incredible.
What would you do on the bus for all of those hours?
I would try to get work done, but I didn't have a smartphone. This was like pre-smartphones.
Sure.
Or no, smartphones were around, but I was too poor to have a smartphone. But I would just sit there. I would just sit. Yeah.
Thinking about your plans.
Thinking about plans. Thinking about how one day I would be a real estate agent.
We all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And you find that the most successful people in our country, from centuries to decades to years past, always had some type of a rough start. But it made them who they are.
Yep.
They didn't have everything handed to them. They had to earn it. They had to prove themselves. They had to hustle and work hard and learn from errors and mistakes, and that's why they are successful. They're not successful because it was handed to them. And that's why I think it's a badge of honor to have a background like that, because it shows that you went through stuff that's tough and you did hard things.
I did hard things, that's for sure. But one of my friends calls it walking with a limp. Like he won't trust somebody unless they are walking with a limp.
That's smart.
Meaning they've been bankrupt, they've gone through something. But that's made them a little bit tougher, because if it's always been easy for you, well, that's not how life works. We started the show off with talking about how that's not how life works.
Yeah.
And so if you're not walking with a limp, then maybe just keep your radar up just in case.
Well, but the problem is we have an entire generation that has, for lack of a better term, never been punched in the mouth.
It's true.
I had 3 boys graduate high school that couldn't balance a checkbook. They couldn't, they didn't teach.
What's a checkbook?
Right.
Well, but can't balance a check register. We as a society are dependent now on whatever that app or that email or that phone tells us.
Yeah.
And that's concerning to me.
It is to me too.
My dad used to tell me when I was a kid that we come from dirt floor poor.
Yeah.
Half-breed Okie sharecroppers and Appalachian coal miners.
Yeah.
And he was a tough old bird.
Yeah.
He was 47 when I was born. I don't think I was planned. And it just he was a hard old dude to work for.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier about I started my first business at 14.
Mm-hmm.
And probably one of the biggest motivations of that was figuring out some way where I didn't have to work for this crazy old stuff, because he was a hard ass, man. He was tough, but he taught me a few things. He taught me the value of $1. He taught me the value of putting in, a day's work for a day's pay.
That's something I'm terrified about. Like having Jack's 2.5, Ben's 4 months old, and we're hearing friends who are a little further down the road, where their kids will just hop on DoorDash and just order a bunch of food. Because they don't understand, like, I remember coming down the stairs the other night, and Valerie was talking to Jack, and she's like, he's like, well, can we buy this? And she's like, yeah, that costs this amount of dollars. She's like, what are dollars? It's money. And he's like, what's money do?
Right.
And the idea, I mean, he's 2.5, so I'm going to cut him some slack at this point.
Sure.
But if your kid's 16, 18, still living at home, and they don't have the concept of money, that's something that terrifies me. I don't want my kid to get to that point.
Right. Well, at least you're aware of it. A lot of parents are ignorant, oblivious of it, don't care. They feel like they have to make up for their rough childhood by giving their kid everything, not wanting their kid to go through any trial or to be without because, they went through that. So I want to make sure my kid, and it's a huge mistake. We see it so much. Kids are spoiled. Kids aren't even have any desire to even get their driver's license.
Yeah, that's so weird to me.
It's like, I'll just take Uber. It's like, I feel like we're going to see the effects of that. And I think it's a big.
You just hit the nail on the head right there. And I've had this conversation with the cigar crowd, that I hang out with.
By the way, Larry accepts free cigars. Every time I go to pick up a son, I try to have a cigar for Larry.
That's why we love you. A kind of a motto in this country has been, we want better for our children than we had.
Right.
Okay, we need to stop saying that because, and I don't know much about either one of your backgrounds, but I'm going to say it was safe to say that none of the three of us had to walk barefoot to school. None of us, we always had a roof over our head as a kid.
Yeah.
Now it may not have been the best roof in the best neighborhood all the time, but we had a roof over our head. None of us had to crawl in a dumpster behind a grocery store or a 7-Eleven to find something to eat. Our kids don't need it any better than we had it.
Yep.
And it's. The struggle is important.
I agree.
You have to learn there's some adversities. There's potholes in the road, and the sooner you figure out how to navigate some of those potholes, the better life you're going to have.
Resilience is key.
Yeah,
whether it's real estate or another type of business. Like you've been doing this a long time, Larry, as far as signs go, and you've seen ups and downs in your industry. Yeah. But resilience is key. If we don't. That's the differentiator I see between like myself and our team and other people out there who are falling off.
That's so true because during COVID, you had a lot of business that closed their doors permanently. But I knew a lot of business owners, not a lot, but a number of them who got creative, decided to try different strategies, expanded what their business did, and now they're more successful than they even were before COVID.
Yep.
It's because they took the opportunity when everyone else was taking the struggle and just falling down and not getting back up. They decided, this is going to be an opportunity. I'm going to be able to have an advantage, a leverage. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to make my company or my business, my service, my product even better. And now they're more successful than they even were before COVID.
And look at the motivation for why they did that. I have people ask me all the time, what made you decide to open a business at the
worst
latter
economy.
The latter part of 2008, the worst economy that you'd seen in your lifetime? Because nobody's first choice is to move their family to 4 refrigerator boxes under an overpass. Maybe your fourth choice, but it ain't your first one. The place I work for closed down, and with no notice. So we are 2 weeks away from 2009. Where am I going to go get a job? With the salary that I was making, I had a company truck, I had a company gas card, I had a company expense account. That just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I got a house payment, I got, wife and 3 kids to feed. We got to figure something out right now. And figuring that out was the 2 other employees who were left at that company came with me when I started Paradise Signs. And I would go out in the morning, and here's the difference between then and now. I would go out in the morning and go to a real estate office, and there were actually people in the office.
Oh, gosh.
You know? And I mean a lot of people, because the times were different than they are now.
Yeah.
And I would go desk to desk, office to office, and, and hey, you need anything? And I do that in the morning, and I would come back, and so we could have stuff to design and print and make for the next day.
Yeah. Well, you're running the realtor schedule at that point.
Yeah.
It should be lead generating in the morning and then going on appointments in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So you're lead generating in the morning and printing in the afternoon.
Yep. And that's what got us through it.
Yeah. And that's honestly what's going to get agents through this phase. If you are not actively lead generating daily, if you are not calling Larry regularly to get signs made, then you're not going to last in this business. And so if you'd like to learn more about how we help agents lead generate, how we do it for them, how we get them open houses, we provide our agents with open house signs, and we pay for them and buy them from Larry directly. If you'd like to learn more about that, just text us. Just text agent to 530-GET-MORE or give us a call at 530-GET-MORE, and we'd be happy to help you. Larry, any last words that you'd like to add?
These are your last words. So make them good.
Yeah.
We're not saying permanently, but just for today.
This is what you're going to carve on my headstone when you carry me out of here.
This is
what he wanted.
Yeah. Life sucks.
Just find something you like to do and do it well. It's easier to get up and go to work in the morning if you like what you're doing. So just whatever that happens to be, just find it and do it.
And who you're doing it with.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons why we keep coming back to you is you do a great job, fast turnaround, but I like working with you. I like giving you a call and seeing the email. What's your email?
Here is your sign at live.com.
Here's your sign at live.com. I think that's hilarious. And so anyways, Larry Marlatte, thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
So, Matt, I was talking to my older brother who lives a couple states away, and he has his house on the market. It's been on the market for a couple weeks already. They've done some open houses, but they haven't got any offers yet. And in the back of my mind, I was like, if only you lived closer and you could use Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team, you would already have your house sold.
That's right. There's a reason why Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty are #1 in Roseville for the past 3 years. They sell homes 27% faster than everyone else, and on average for a 3% higher purchase price. They have more 5-star Google reviews than everyone else. Find out about their Fix It Before You List It program, where they will help you get those much needed repairs done, even if you don't have the time or the money, so you can get your home on the market and sold fast. Expect more, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by EXP Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, did you know the tallest mountain in the continental U.S. is just in the Sierras? It's called Mount Whitney. Have you heard about that?
Down in Southern California. I've always wanted to climb that, but just never had the opportunity so far.
It is. So I've done it once before, about 16 years ago, with my dad and a buddy. It was the three of us. And then we recently did it, again, the three of us, but we had a bigger group. There were 4 other guys, so 7 total. But man, I learned some.
And you just did it this past week, right?
Yeah, we just did it. And so
you did it in one day.
We did it in one day. So we drove down Sunday, got there late in the or early evening Sunday, went to bed, woke up at 1:30 in the morning, and then was on the trail by 2 o'clock.
How do you see where you're going in the dark?
Headlamps.
On the trail. Is that what it is? You're wearing headlamps? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Yep. Crazy.
So you want to start early because you want to be summiting. If you're going to do it in one day, you want to be summiting between 10 and noon, because just about every day there's storms that come in, and it can be super dangerous if you're caught up there.
Really?
Because you're way above the tree line. And so if you can get struck by lightning, you can just fall and slip, and that's
sounds
the end of that.
Fun.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna do it hopefully one day, but I'm not gonna do it in one day. I want to take my time and enjoy the experience.
Yeah. So there's a couple routes you can do.
Because you said you were hurting. Yeah. Afterwards, oh my gosh, you got sunburn. You're falling down because your legs are cramping up.
Yeah, it's not, and I'm not like super fit. The buddy that was with us, he just completed a half Ironman.
Yeah.
So he's doing well, but all of us. But my dad was with us, but we were all hurting by the end of the day. There was a guy on the trip who runs like a marathon every 2 weeks, and he was hurting by the end.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not for the faint of heart, but I did learn some lessons. Like I'm walking through this, I'm thinking, what can I be learning? What are my takeaways from this experience? And what I realized was a couple different things, but one of them being you have to push yourself and just keep going. Like if you're going through a hard time, if you're struggling in real estate, if you're a real estate agent struggling in real estate, you have to keep going and just recognize it's going to be harder than you expected it to be. Like, have you heard of I think it's called the Stockdale paradox. Have you heard of this?
I don't think so.
So Admiral Stockdale was a prisoner of war during Vietnam, and he was in a POW camp for, I think it was 6 or 8 years. So for a long time. He was eventually released, and what they found, what people asked him was like, how did you survive? Like, what was the difference between the people that survived and the people who didn't in this prisoner of war camp? And he said the people who didn't set up arbitrary dates for when they thought they were going to be released. So we'll be released by Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
We'll be released by Christmas. We'll be released by New Year's. And so that gave them like a goal to survive till.
Right.
But when that date passed and they were not released, they basically just gave up. They're like, oh, I can't make it any longer. And so what I learned was, what was reinforced on this hike was, don't set an arbitrary time. Like, we'll be home, we'll be off the trail by 5 o'clock.
Right.
Like, we wanted to be back by 7, so that way we could have like their famous like hamburgers, but the restaurant closes at 7. So that was what was keeping us going. And then all of a sudden we realized there's no way we're making it back by 7.
So that made it even harder.
And so, yeah, you're just, oh man, that stinks. So if you're a real estate agent, like, one, you got to keep going, put in the work.
Yeah.
Put in a lot of work. It's going to take way more work than you expect.
Right.
And 2, don't set an arbitrary like success date. Like, I'll make this amount of money, or I'll have this many houses sold by a specific date. Because then if you don't hit that, it just hurts. Just know I'm committed. Failure is not an option. And with the right people around you, like, there's no way. My dad's an absolute stud, heart of a lion, but there's no way he would have made it if my friend and I had not been there helping him.
Yeah,
to help
that's
push him
important
along.
too, right?
So it's who you align with is absolutely key, not only in real estate but in life.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was my big takeaway from Mount Whitney. She's a cruel mistress.
Yes, that's awesome.
Maybe we'll get you.
But if you want to
there.
go on a trip like that, join the Made for More team, right?
Yeah, just call or text 530 get more. And
it'll be painful, but they'll get you there by 10 o'clock.
Text pain to 530 get more. All right, thank you.